I wasn't supposed to take a video outside of the goros store, so they told me to leave. I wasn't even inside, just out front. Whoops. Howdy y'all, I hope you guys are all doing well, I hope you guys are safe, and I hope you guys are healthy. My name is Josh and I absolutely love clothing and personal style. So if you're into that type of content, feel free to subscribe to me here on YouTube as well as follow me on Instagram at @wears_Galdo. Today I'm bringing you guys a video about one brand and one brand only, and it just so happens to be one of the most legendary jewelry brands that's coming out of Japan, and that's Goros. If you're unfamiliar with Goros as a brand, they create jewelry, Native American inspired jewelry out of Japan. A lot of it is silverware, but silver also gold and leather goods as well. And it has been worn by many very famous people like Eric Clapton, the guitarist, John Mayer, Hiroshi Fujiwara of Fragment, Nigo, a lot of very big names. Oh, Steve Aoki as well. So a lot of very big names, and there is an entire story and mystique about the brand that is actually really interesting. I personally don't own any Goros jewelry at all, and I only had experiences outside of the Goros store in Harajuku, specifically on Omotesando, surrounded by luxury stores all over the place. What really is interesting is that not only are the pieces of jewelry very cool looking, but the way to get Goros at retail is such a convoluted and complicated process that in itself, the process to get it is just difficult. And then on top of that, it's super expensive, but it does come with a really cool story. And so I'm gonna tell you guys the process of basically how to get into Goros, and then tell you the story associated with the founder of Goros, because they kind of mirror each other, like the customer experience and the story of the founder himself. As I'm editing this, I realized I forgot to mention one of the biggest articles that gave me a lot of this information, and I just wanted to kind of give credit where credit is due. Archive PDF, I'll link it in the comments down below, or actually I'll link it in the description down below. If you guys want to give that a really good read, it gives you like all the information in this video and more. But yeah, back to the video. So Goros is only sold out of one store in the world, and that is going to be the Goros store in Harajuku, specifically on Omotesando. It's actually near Kittyland, so if you're into that Sanrio type of stuff, it's also like across the street from it. It's kind of fun. But Goros is a notoriously exclusive and very, how do I say it without sounding rude? Like, judgmental in a way. They are very protective of their products and legacy and reputation of the brand. Extremely so that you would probably think they're like a brand that gatekeeps themselves. So in a nutshell, how to get into the Goros store. The store itself opens at around 1 p.m. People show up earlier so that they can basically enter a lottery so that they can get assigned a number, and that number is your number in line. So it is absolutely possible to show up super early and get a super high number for whatever reason, and unfortunately not have an opportunity to go into the Goros store. Well, they have you numbered because they only allow one customer in the store at a time. I may be a little foggy on that, but even on their like About Us website, they also say one customer in the store at a time. Some people end up waiting in line all day. And the thing is, when you're in line, other than like breaks for like, you know, bathroom breaks or like meals or whatever, you aren't really allowed to leave. If they pass your number, you're just not allowed entry at all into the store whatsoever. So you kind of have to be there and attentive in line potentially all day for you to get your opportunity to even enter the store. And that's not where the difficulty stops, because the staff really kind of takes a look at you as a person, and based on both like how you carry yourself, your look, and your interactions with the staff members, they can determine what you're able and unable to buy, which is wild of a concept, because as most people going shopping in any other store, I mean, you know, you would think if you have the money, you can buy whatever it is you want, so long as you can afford it. However, Goros takes it in a different direction, where whatever you purchase has to basically be approved by whoever's selling it to you. If I'm not mistaken, all goros transactions are to be conducted by cash only, and you need a lot of cash on you considering how expensive the items are in this shop. So goros does keep basically a client record or a customer record of what you purchase. So your reputation with the brand basically grows alongside what you purchase from the brand. And that's not really a foreign concept. A lot of luxury brands have client books with certain employees, but goros kind of does the same thing, and your reputation with them will grow, allowing you to purchase different things, better things, more exclusive things. And so if you're, well, first and foremost, if you have the money to buy goros, it's a whole experience in itself to do it once, but then supposedly gets better over time as you purchase more from goros, and specifically from them in their Harajuku Omotesando store, because they're the only place in the world that sells that jewelry. Now, there are plenty of secondhand places to buy goros, however, they're just as expensive and you don't get the whole experience with it, so it's up to you how to get your goros. The whole buying experience at goros feels so like a truly unique experience that I can't say that I've ever heard of from anywhere else in the world. And when you purchase something from goros, I can imagine there's a sense of pride, feeling like you earned it, feeling like, I don't know, whatever you just went through was seriously something special. And I do think that there's definitely something to say about the value of having like what feels like a once in a lifetime experience. It takes away the entitlement of people simply just having money. It really just forces you to commit yourself to this one thing, purchasing this one item. And even after the buying process is done, that's not where the experience ends. The staff will tell you basically how to wear these items. And I think like even in itself, they're investing so much time, effort, and resources into their product, which is actually, in my eyes, really admirable. Another really super interesting aspect to goros as a store is that they will not authenticate things for you whatsoever. So unless it is in their record that you have purchased your item from the goros store, they're just not going to tell you if it's real or not. And it's so interesting to me because I know a lot of people are super obsessed with trying to find authenticity in a lot of items. I mean, particularly like look at, say, the sneaker game where everybody seems to be an expert at authenticating sneakers. But in goros, or in the realm of goros, the only way to know that it is authentic is if this piece was purchased from the goros store specifically. But enough about the buying experience. I mean, that's not all to it. I'm sure there's many, many more nuances to it that I'm unaware of. So if you know any extra information, throw in the comments down below. And next up, I want to bring up the history of the brand itself, and that's inevitably talking about the history or life journey of Goro Takahashi. So, Goro Takahashi is the founder of goros, and each step along his journey to honing his skills is kind of embodied in the process of the experience of buying at goros. And I'll explain a little bit more at the end, but when Goro Takahashi was like a teenager, he befriended a US soldier that was stationed in Japan, and I believe this is somewhere in like the 60s, maybe 50s to 60s area. I'm not 100% sure about the timeline of things, but nevertheless, Goro Takahashi befriended a US soldier, which out of this relationship, the US soldier gifted Goro a set of leatherworking tools. And through this initial gift and experience, he decided to hone his skill and decided to make leather goods. And he was really, really talented at creating very intricate, beautiful pieces of leather goods, for which he also found a really deep appreciation for American culture, Native American culture, and so he found himself frequently visiting the United States. So in developing this natural talent for leather crafting, Goro found himself in Flagstaff, Arizona, where he met and befriended a silversmith. This silversmith was highly, highly impressed by Goro's ability to create leather goods, and in turn, Goro was very, very impressed and wanted to learn the trade of silversmithing as well. So, in exchange for some leather goods, the silversmith taught Goro basically how to silversmith. So the theme of trading knowledge for goods is kind of a recurring theme within the story of Goros' journey. So later on in life, he found himself in New Mexico, and inside of a shop found himself admiring an eagle feather. And to him, it was simply something just so beautiful, yet the shop owner wouldn't allow him to purchase that item because of what it stood for in terms of the Native American representation of an eagle feather. Only certain individuals are able to own and wear an eagle feather. They have to earn it. And through that simple appreciation and really like wanting that hunger for knowledge to know more about that culture, Goro Takahashi was introduced to the Lakota people. Now, as far as me just going over this story, I'm not going to go too far into explaining the Lakota people and their traditions. However, there is one aspect that seemed very prevalent, is that outsiders and people who are not of the Lakota tribe were unable to participate in the rituals of the Lakota people. Over time, as Goro Takahashi was learning and experiencing these things with the Lakota people, he ended up learning their iconographies, their symbologies, ended up learning their art forms, and also learned more about the culture as a whole. And over time created a bond that was so strong that they allowed him to actually participate in a naming ceremony where they gave him a name based on his own characteristics. And he was given the name Yellow Eagle, which is definitely reflected in his brand later on, because one of the biggest and most iconic motifs from Goros as a brand is an eagle. Now, there are a couple of themes from Goros' life story that are emulated through the buying process that is buying jewelry from Goros. And one of the most major ones that sticks out to me is going to be the exclusivity and feeling like you earned that piece. And is it kind of overkill? I mean, it depends on who you ask, but I think it does definitely make for a wonderful parallel. And then there's other like slight concepts like the idea of bartering, and this is just me speculating, and I can only assume that it is cash-only transactions, so it feels like you actually physically exchanged goods. Another kind of concept that is from the story that relates to the buying process is going to be the human interaction of the whole process. Is going to be that, if you're going to be a Goros customer, you have to talk to the staff, you have to kind of like basically prove to them that you're someone who appreciates this stuff just as much as they do, or just as much as the people in the story did appreciated his craft, and then only then would you be able to purchase these items. It does feel like gatekeeping from a brand, and gatekeeping is kind of like a more modern concept, but Goros is truly an old soul of a brand. It wants to keep its traditions, it wants to keep it just wants its very unique identity to stay that. Their marketing is extremely minimal, only done by famous people who are wearing these items. And I think that is such an interesting concept for a store. I'm really impressed by the craftsmanship, the quality. Seeing some of the Goros pieces in person, I was like, this is so beautiful. It's so intricately done, so well done, and I would love to own anything Goros. I mean, a Goros set or necklace would be wonderful one day, but I think I'm going to have to work myself up to that, because Goros is, I don't know, it just feels, you know, top tier jewelry type of stuff, and even that much more because it's really hard to get at retail. And if I'm going to get Goros, I do feel like it would be probably more appropriate for how I appreciate clothing if I went through the whole process of buying Goros in person. But I'm not sure when that'll ever happen, because I don't know when the next time I'm going to be in Japan is. I hope it's someday soon, because I loved my trip to Japan so much. But that's beside the point. This video is about Goros. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, like, is the exclusivity really kind of like overboard for you guys? I know that a lot of people think that like, oh, if I can afford it, I should be able to buy it, but that's not always the case. And Goros is just the best brand to personify taking out the entitlement that money gives us. There are plenty of secondhand stores that do sell goros, and if that's what you want, you just simply want the product, there are many ways to get goros without the experience. But for me personally, I think that I would like to go through that at least once or something like that. I mean, as someone who's not a fan of gatekeeping, I see how it's easy to write off Goros' attitude as blatant gatekeeping from the brand, which is kind of unheard of sometimes, but once informed about the context of the founder's life journey and how parts of that journey are mirrored within the buying process, I'm very impressed by the dedication and the truly unique buying experience. I respect it. I mean, I was actually quite let down when I was told to leave the front of the store when I was in Japan. I had traveled halfway across the world, took one clip of the outside of the store, and they told me to leave, which was a little like, for me, I was very sad. But I appreciate Goros for what it is. I love their jewelry, and hopefully one day in one of these pickups videos you'll see a Goros piece. Super interesting story. I hope you guys thought it was interesting and entertaining at the very least. If I missed anything, if there is anything about Goros that I don't know, put it in the comments down below. I appreciate you guys for watching this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.